Well, hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay this month for our broadcast. I'm Dr. Romas Buivydas. I'm the host of Airing Addiction. And we're here live right now from the Paralysis Recovery Center here in Worcester, Massachusetts, part of Spectrum Health Systems. And today, my guest, you may have heard him before on radio with us for the first time. Now we get to see his face. And thank you, Mike Earielo. He is the director of Everyday Miracles, our peer recovery center based in downtown Worcester, Massachusetts. And so, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doc. Pleasure to be here. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Michael Earielo. Like Dr. Romas mentioned, I am the program director for Everyday Miracles, which is under the Spectrum umbrella for the continuum care. So we are a peer-to-peer recovery center in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. And so, Mike, I know you've been on the show before, but I want to pick your brain and I want to hear your story of what got you here and why you're here with us.
Yes. Well, I mean, I just want to say that this Paris campus is a beautiful place.
It really is.
It's
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a real awesome scenery, and it makes the folks really feel like, there's somebody.
We talked earlier before the show. For those of you who don't know, the campus here in Westboro at New England Recovery Center and Paris Recovery Center is that it really is a nice place. It looks like a hotel when you pull up to it.
Yes.
But the whole main reason is to provide a dignified place for recovery for folks.
And I definitely get that feel when I come up here. Every time I come up here, I see all the participants. They're always smiling and always. So that's a good sign. So how I got here?
Tell me about it.
So not only am I a program director for Everyday Miracles, I'm also a person in recovery, and what that means for me is I haven't used a substance in 8 years, going on 8 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A little bit about my background. I'm from Worcester. 49 years old. I know I don't look it, but it's true.
No, you do.
The grades are giving it away. So, I'm a person in recovery, and my first time in recovery, and I come with a little bit of baggage from my past, as far as substance use disorder is concerned. Family members, my dad was substance use disorder. Unfortunately, he died before he was able to treat his disease of addiction. I was born and raised on a little tough street called Kilby Street, where there was a lot of drug dealing, a lot of drug use, a lot of violence, unfortunately, and I was exposed to all that atmosphere, and it actually sucked into my pores, where I adapted to my environment, as they say, and that led me down the path that I chose, which was drug dealing, drug using, violent person. Me and a couple other friends, we started a gang, just because a gang is a way of protection for your territory when you're selling drugs. There's a lot of money involved, and you have to. It's almost like protecting a gold mine. You don't want nobody else coming in and taking your gold away, whatever you want. So, unfortunately, with that lifestyle, it's a lot of violence. So I found myself caught up in that. Moving forward, that was at the age of 13. I experienced my first real illicit drug. But prior to that, it was very common back in the 70s where your parents would let you sip off their beer can.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, very common, especially in my culture and tradition of being Italian and Puerto Rican. I don't know about any other culture.
Beer, wine, a lot of cultures.
So we like to party, right? Yeah. And a lot of after hours, and the kids are always, the last ones to go to sleep too. And I remember going around and my mom saying here and thinking it was, okay. Yeah. And not knowing that it was.
But that was those times.
That's what those times. And we didn't know about, the brain disease of addiction. As
we didn't know what we didn't know.
We didn't know what we didn't know. So my behavior started a lot earlier than 13, but 13 was when I picked up my first real, as they say, hardcore drug, which was I thought it was cocaine, but it was heroin. I didn't know the difference, so I ended up sniffing some heroin, thinking it was cocaine, and It was an awful experience. And then at the same time, it was a very warm, enlightening, welcoming experience as well. But I didn't go back into heroin. Back in the 70s and early 80s, we understood the danger and what heroin was doing to our community. My father was an intravenous drug user, and my uncles, my friends' fathers, and we knew you do heroin, this is what happens, and this is the outcome of heroin abuse. However, cocaine and crack cocaine is a different story. My generation, back in 83, 84, we was the guinea pigs of the crack epidemic. We couldn't say, use crack cocaine, this is what's gonna happen. Or this is the downfall of using crack cocaine. Because we didn't know. So a lot of myself, including my friends, went down that path of crack cocaine. Once it was, available in Worcester, it was, the drug wars, and it was horrible. We thought just using cocaine was fine. We seen it was actually, exploited on television and Scarface and Miami Vice, and they glamorized it. They glamorize it. So a young kid watching these movies, a young kid watching these television shows, it
looks cool.
It looks cool. You don't know, it looks cool. It's the same effect as the cigarette commercials.
That's right.
It has
a nice way of saying it.
Same effect. It's commercializing.
But today you don't see it glamorized, meaning K2, spice, synthetic marijuana.
No.
And you don't know what's in it.
Exactly.
And it's all over the place.
And thank God. But they do exploit it in a lot of music.
So that's the new venue, not TV shows, it's in music.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's touching on the Marley and the perks. And you got songs about Percocets and how cool it is to pop perks.
Yeah, not so cool.
Not so cool. No, not so cool. So I was in the generation of the crack cocaine epidemic, and I fell down that rabbit hole. And then it took a very long time for me to crawl out of that hole. I did my first state penitentiary sentence at the age of 17, just turning 18, being released 4 years later, and it was for distribution. And that's how they treated folks with a substance use disorder. Criminal. That's how they, the war on drugs did a big effect on, the inner city and the communities around.
And you are 17 years old.
17, first arrest. Nope.
Being put into a state prison.
A man's jail, as they called it back then. You're going with the men now, Mike,
Right. That's a great way of learning how to do other things.
Well,
isn't it?
Talking about other things, it really opened my criminal thinking mentality. I was around older folks. Fortunately for me, I came from a neighborhood where the older guys was already planted in the state system, so I didn't come in blinded. I had my father actually was in the prison at the same time as me, that was showing me the ropes. But I seen a lot of young adults go in there that didn't have a chance of survival, and it's a very horrific place to be. I've seen some things that I don't wish anybody to witness or be a part of.
Well, think about it, 17 years old, high school.
Right.
You're a kid.
Yeah, right. I should be thinking about going to college.
Yeah, or thinking of kid stuff.
Right.
Teenager stuff, but not being in the state prison.
No, with murderers and rapists.
Right.
Grown men.
Right.
It's a tough environment.
We know those times have changed now in prisons.
Yes. And still more change to come.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, we hope so too.
And still more change, but you're right. We know that, now that, treating the disease of addiction or people with substance use disorder is not the solution is not locking them up. It's not a moral failure. No, it's a brain disease.
Brain disease, and incarceration doesn't cure or help a brain disease in any way.
No, it makes it worse.
Right.
It does. It truly makes it worse. So that vicious cycle started from that age until I was 40, and then out of prison and penitentiaries and all that other stuff, and still getting out with a big scheme of an idea that I can do it differently. And, I did every avenue. I'll sell on weekends and not use, or I'll use on weekends and not sell, or I'll sell this substance and not this substance, and it never pans out. It doesn't work. It's the insanity piece of addiction.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting
Expecting different, right?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and it's always the end game is always the same, and it's never a good one or a pretty one, And it took a lot, it took a lot for me to really wrap around even the fact that I was a person that had a substance use disorder.
Right.
Because, growing up, to admit that, then you was a junkie, a bum, it was stigmatized.
Yeah.
It was very stigmatized.
And those are the terms used back then.
Exactly. So I didn't want to fit in that category. Right. I didn't want to put myself, so I never reached out for help because I was like, I'm not,
I'm not one of those.
I'm not one of, but even when I became one of them people, I was still looking for somebody lower in my status to say, well, I'm not that bad. This guy's bad, or this woman. And then when I got to that level, I would look around, and it came a point in my life where there was nobody else to point out to. I was the bottom of the bottom. I was at the end of the last house on the road, as they say. Yeah. And the only person I can point to is like me and say,
Is that when the change started to occur for you?
It started changing there. I think it was coming to self and saying, wow, you really have a real, you are what you say you ain't,
right?
Right. And it was hard.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, it's hard. I always was very well in supporting my habit as far as hustling. I've been around hustlers and money movers all my life, including my dad, and I was very good at it. I never went without. I always had some nice stuff on my back, materialistic items in my possession. But when I seen them starting to dwindle down, and I was no longer, I no longer cared about the materialistic items. I just wanted to get high and get high and get high. I realized that I had a problem. And I was 40 years old doing this crazy dance before
You're already hitting middle age.
Yeah. At 40 years old, you're like, wow, you look around and you have nothing to show for your accomplishments in life. You've just been in and out of prison your whole life. You've been absent and out of everybody else's life. And you say, wow, this is it. This is all I have to offer.
So what got you then moving?
So you're probably familiar. I don't know if the audience or the listeners are familiar with. I caught an epidural abscess. Epidural abscess is very common in intravenous drug users. Heroin. A lot of people don't know heroin is a very dirty drug. There's a lot of bacteria in heroin. It's one of the most dirtiest drugs out there, where people, and we see intravenous drug users, they always have the abscesses, and it's very common. But this one was internal, and it affects the spinal area, where it builds up a pocket of pus, and it wraps around the spinal cord and all kinds of. So that happened to me. I caught an epidural abscess. But the funny thing is, I was out in the streets and I was doing my thing, and I was picked up on a charge that I had nothing to do with. Surprisingly, but it's true. I was innocent this time, and there was plenty of times that I did something, got away, so I guess it evened out. But I was up in house correction on the charge that I didn't commit, and that's where we found out I had the epidural abscess. Wow. So in a way, it probably saved my life.
So faith intervened. Wow.
Although the county jail that I was a resident in almost killed me because I was complaining about this severe back pain, they didn't believe me, because once again I was stigmatized. Right. So they just figured, he just wants pain meds. Yeah. That's all they want. Yeah. person with a substance use disorder or classified as a heroin intravenous drug user, the minute you say I'm in pain, the wall goes up. Oh, they just want pain meds. They're lying. So they left me in the condition of having a severe back pain for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, and without any medical treatment, and they didn't believe me until it was a little bit too late, where it ruptured, and I had to be rushed to the hospital.
So what happened?
So I get rushed to the hospital. Last thing you know, I'm waking up a month later. I had to have a trach because my lungs collapsed. I came out of the drug-induced coma a month later. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what.
An induced coma.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because the infection was so bad. It was dormant, and they left it there like 2 weeks. This thing has been progressing, and for 2 weeks I'm asking for help, and I'm being ignored because I'm being stigmatized
because of your background.
Because of substance use disorder. I was left in a condition where nobody should be left in.
No, I agree.
So funny, I laugh at it now, but it wasn't funny then. The crazy thing about all that is that I woke up. I couldn't talk because I had a trach. I couldn't move my legs. They had to explain to me what happened to me and that I was paralyzed. I was paraplegic. I couldn't move my arms at one point.
So you're paralyzed from neck down?
Neck down. Because the infection started in the T1, which is at the top of the spinal cord, and then went down to T7. Wow. So it's a nasty scar I have. So yeah, so I came out of that, and they had to tell me and explain all that. To make matters worse is that they didn't even contact my emergency contact, my mother. No contact at all. My mom, I'm in a hospital. They had to go out and pension for somebody to be my proxy to make the decisions while I was under this drug-induced coma. And at one point, they considering pulling off the life support system.
Without contacting
anyone. I had a proxy. I had somebody else.
So in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's beyond insensitive for one thing.
Absolutely.
It's completely unprofessional, inhuman.
Inhuman, yeah. I mean, that's how we've been treated, though. Individuals with substance use disorder have been put in that box.
Yeah,
so you got individuals with substance use disorder, and then you add on that they're, another stigmatized label that we can add on is a criminal.
Right.
So
whether you were or not, you're still labeled.
Right. I'm there. I'm telling you, I'm there on the charge I didn't commit, but I'm there. I wake up, I have all these issues going on. They say, oh, by the way, your case has been dismissed, so I don't have no more case.
Oh, you're good to go. All
so,
right.
Yeah, but the thing is, the jail did it very fast and quickly where, okay, now he's not our problem no more. So
that kind of
wash their hands, they don't have to pay my medical bills, all right?
Oh.
So I'm back on.
Brilliant.
So yeah, they know what they know, but they didn't contact my mother. Back then, with technology, I don't remember the phone number of anybody I called today because it's just a push of a button. However, I did remember one person's number. It was this lovely lady, church-going, God-fearing woman who was my ex-mother, and I called her, and she came up and see me, and she prayed over me, and she asked if her church, and at this time I had no visitors, nobody knew I was there, so I was welcoming anybody who wanted to come see me because I was bedridden for 8 months.
8 months?
Yeah.
Did they start you on rehabilitation for anything?
I was
any physical therapy?
Yeah, I was getting physical. They was moving my legs, and it was a long road to recovery. But it was in that time that I had a lot of thinking to do, where I wanted to go, and I was highly medicated. So I ended up spending a year in between the hospital and a rehabilitation center. And again, because of my past, no nursing home in Worcester would take me. So they sent me to Hopedale, and it was the first time I ever heard of Hopedale, Mass. So I was out in Hopedale, Mass, and come to find out that's where Aerosmith and some of them played out there, or came from Hopedale. Yeah, so I learned that. But the condition was so bad in the place that it was a nursing home, slash rehabilitation center, but it was really a nursing home, but it was a nursing home for folks that had dementia.
Okay.
So I was 40 something, and I was beyond the youngest person there. Everybody else is, in their stages of 80 and
With dementia, though.
with dementia. So it was very scary. I was still bedridden at the time, and I had folks come in my room and scare me because I couldn't move it. I had this one gentleman that came in and just took a dump on my floor every night. So
Because he had dementia.
yeah, so he didn't know
what he was doing.
but I was scared. But
Because you can't move, and
right,
of course.
but it was so bad that the condition of the facility that they even have people roaming at night. To allow that, that's a safety
So
issue.
that's an unfortunate thing for that population of people who suffer.
Right.
Both with dementia, the elderly.
I see. Yeah, it's a scary thought. Another brain disease.
Yeah, another brain disease. Exactly.
Another brain disease. So they shut down that facility. The state came in and shut them down. So they had to scramble and place everybody. And I ended up going to Boston out in Everett, and stayed out there for about 6 more months, and told my insurance ran out that they was no longer paying for my stay, and I had to come up with a home plan.
Wow.
So they gave me they gave me one option. Then they let me come up with another option, but their option was to put me in the Pine Street Inn.
The Pine Street
Inn. The Pine Street Inn.
That's a shelter.
Yeah.
So that was the option.
That was their option. And
for those who don't know it, it's in Boston.
It's in Boston, and the best way I can describe it, it's a homeless facility for individuals that are homeless, and it's not a dry center. It's not a dry drop-in or shelter.
It can be dangerous.
It's very dangerous. So yeah, I that wasn't on my list. Wow. So the only people I knew are people that are active in active addiction or active drug use or selling drugs. So
that's no one to turn to, really.
And my mom was in Florida at the time, and she found out a month later, and she came up to visit, but there wasn't much she could do. I already burned them bridges,
Yeah. So how did you struggle out of it? How'd you get back on your feet? Because I'm sure this is a fantastic story.
Yeah, so leaving Everett, I called up a friend of mine and said, hey, can I stay with you until I get on my feet? And I didn't mean it literally because I was in a wheelchair, so I wasn't getting on my feet anytime soon, I thought. But I was discharged, make a long story short, I was discharged to a friend's house that was in active use. When I was being discharged, I'm on fentanyl patches, 100 milligrams every 3 days. I was on Percocets, 30 milligram Percocets, when needed. And I'm given these scripts and saying, okay, now you're going to be responsible and you're going to take these as is told.
Now, were you in pain?
Yeah, extreme pain. I mean, I just had a major surgery on my spinal cord. Not only was I in pain, I was mentally exhausted and beat down. From going from maybe not the healthiest person, but I was walking and running, right? And I was walking up and running downstairs and doing.
So physically and mentally.
Yeah, and the thing that I found ironic was they did give me some physical therapy, like trying to move my joints so they don't, atrophy, but they never did any therapy on my mind or my brain. And I found that to be the most discredited,
Well, it's debilitating because they're working on your body. That's great, great. Right. But nothing up here for counseling, for support.
None. Nobody asked me how does it feel from the
to build some resilience. Again.
To let me know everything was going to be okay. So it really played with me on an emotional level.
Oh, I bet.
So when I got released with the addictive personality that I had, I was putting 2 patches on every 3 days. I was eating the Percocets like they were M&Ms.
Because you had physical pain, but you had pain here too.
And I'm self-medicating. Yeah. I'm self-medicating. I'm paralyzed. I'm in a chair now. I had a what's it called? You pee in the bag.
The colostomy bag.
Colostomy bag. Yeah, I had one of those, and that's not a pretty sight.
So you went through. That was a whole traumatic experience for yourself.
Yeah, it's very traumatic, very traumatizing. So, and I self-medicated, and I'll tell you the story after that. So not once when I was released from the nursing home with all these pills that I was sat down and say, these are very highly addictive medications. Basically, it's an opiate.
Yeah.
I was never told. So when I was done with my medication in the middle of the month, and I still had a half a month to go before I get my refills, I had a very familiar feeling, and which was called, we call it on the street dope sick.
Yeah.
You know, dry heaves, vomiting, can't get out of bed, diarrhea. And I said, holy crap, I'm dope sick. And a person like me doesn't like to be in that stage.
You're going through withdrawal.
I'm going through withdrawal, and I know how to get rid of that feeling. So I use. So I found myself back on Main Street in a wheelchair, using and trying to hustle, beating people if I had to in a wheelchair. And you can imagine I wasn't getting too far
With a wheelchair.
Wasn't long before
I didn't mean to laugh, but
no, it is. I
yeah.
laugh. Like the insanity, man.
Yeah,
It's the insanity that plays a big part in all this. Like, I'm here, I don't care, give me a bag, and I'm trying to roll away. And
It sounds like a sitcom where
It
a
does.
guy is in a wheelchair chasing after guys. Yeah,
it does. And, you know, I wasn't really a person that was really raised to be spiritual, but I believe in God, and I believe in, you know, a higher power greater than mine. And it was in them conditions that I reached out and asked him. You know, it was winter time. I was in a wheelchair. I was homeless, in a wheelchair, on Main Street with a substance use disorder, and I just said, I can't do it no more, please. You know, and in my mind, my higher power was going to put me in a hotel room for a month or two and supply me with an endless amount of drugs and women, right? And in reality, it was the house correction again. And not then, but now I see that as a blessing in disguise. I was warm, I was eating properly, and I was safe, and I had a chance to really get my peace of mind back, and it was there. It started, yeah, it was there. My behavior started to change, so I can't go back out there like this again. I had a petty crime. My lawyer, I was in 90 days, my lawyer came up and said, great news, I get you 90 more days and you're free to go. And I shook in my pants. No. She's like, what do you mean no? Like, this is the best, 90 more days, you're home. You're probably do 2 months with your time. I was like, no, I don't want that. She looked at me like I had 3 heads. I said, I want more than that, but I wanted probation and I want to be stipulated to a halfway house.
Okay.
So
she's being provided some structure.
Home, where's home? Home is being homeless.
Right.
You release me from this prison, my home is on the streets. I don't want to go back to that.
Unstructured chaos again.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
So I took a plea bargain which had two years probation over my head, and I was stipulated to a house, and one of the only houses that accepted me, again because of my quarry, was a house called Distance House. In Worcester. And it was there that I learned about my disease of addiction. It was there that I learned about recovery. It was there that I learned about responsibility because you have a chore. It was there that I learned another responsibility that, you know, I was accountable for my behavior and my actions, and there was disciplinary consequences for me acting out or coming in late or not doing my chore. And it really allowed me to grow and to finally have a chance to get to know who I was.
So you went from antisocial behaviors from the brain disease,
right,
to pro-social, to learn. Social, pro-social behavior.
And I think it's very important in a person's recovery process that we learn.
Oh, I agree.
We learn these new,
or relearn sometimes.
Relearn, absolutely. Because for a lot of us, just having a family atmosphere, like at Distance House, you have to be home at 5:30, eat together. Some of us never experienced that before.
This family unity, even though you're not related to each other, but
you are family.
You are family.
That is their logo too. Is Dismiss as family. So that's their.
I like that.
Yeah. So and I learned that. I learned about this little hole in the wall called Everyday Miracles.
Yeah. So okay.
So I I'm going to meetings and traditional self-help group meetings, and it was great. It built a foundation, but I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted, my own personalized recovery. I was introduced to Everyday Miracles, and I just went down there just to play cards. It was a place to hang out.
So can you tell some folks, not everybody may know what Everyday Miracles is, or EDM is?
EDM,
Right.
yeah. Everyday Miracles is a peer-to-peer recovery support center, meaning that the peers support the peers. It's peers building up each other. It's a participatory process, meaning that the staff take a back seat and let the members generate and brainstorm and utilize the center as they see fit.
It's a brilliant resource for those of you who haven't ever visited.
Yep, so they have meetings there every day. We do life skills as far as resume building, parenting groups, and we have multiple pathways to recovery, which I love.
Yeah, not just one.
No, because we know now, the more that we're learning about the disease of addiction, we know it's not a one shoe fits all approach.
That's right.
Right? It's like a well-tailored suit. This is what I always say. Recovery is like a well-tailored suit. You have to keep on trying on the suit until it fits you just perfectly.
Yes, I like that.
And then you know that's your suit. That's the same with your recovery. You keep on trying. You don't give up. You just find a recovery that fits you. It might be looking different than everybody else. You might have on a bright orange suit, but it fits you. It doesn't matter. It's yours. It fits you, and it
I
works.
think that's so important for folks listening, that there are multiple pathways to recovery, not just one kind of program, one way of doing it. If it fits you, that's the way.
That's the one. That's one, and that's one of the what we try to promote down there the most is that the multiple, because everybody comes in with different trauma. Everybody experiences different lives growing up or atmospheres, or we all find ourselves in this horrible disease of addiction. But for a lot of us, it took different roads to get there. So it's going to take different roads to get out.
So now let's go back to your road. You did EDM for the first time. So what happened?
So I started playing cards there, and that's all I was interested in was playing cards. And then my ears were still open though, and I would hear some of the groups they were going on, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me sit in on the group, and I started sitting on groups, and the staff was great. It made you feel like you was worthy of being, because at that point in early recovery, you're not sure of yourself. You don't have the confidence in yourself. You still view yourself as all the guilt that you did wrong hasn't been forgiven, or you haven't you haven't forgave yourself for letting so many people down or hurting people. So you carry that with you. In the Everyday Miracles, you're welcome, and you're equal to everybody in there. And I started hearing some workshops, so I started taking some workshops, and I started understanding the peer model, and I started understanding what the participatory model was, and I started getting engaged, and I found myself being involved in community meetings, and so then I took advantage of some of the things that they had to offer, like sending me to recovery coach school academy. Sending me to the academy.
Wow.
That's
a profession now.
Yeah, so and they pay for your training, and so it's in these trainings that you learn about stigmatizing people, using words that hurt and trying to use words that don't hurt. Like myself, and it's not against anybody, but I won't identify myself as an addict. I don't have addict behaviors today. I don't rob, cheat, steal, or any other behaviors. So so I'm a person in recovery.
That's how it should
be. That's where I stand. And my recovery is a lot different than a lot of other people's, and I'm okay with that. Okay. It works for me. I wouldn't suggest anybody else to try my recovery.
Multiple pathways.
Multiple pathways. I understand also that people are dying at a high rate, and I don't want to contribute to that by telling somebody they're doing their recovery wrong, and they should be doing it this way. Because again, you have to let individuals find their own path, in whatever that case may be. So these are the trainings that we send folks to and we learn about. So I was more interested in, then I said, I started believing in myself, and I went. And I said, I'm going to go back to school. I went back to school, and I went to Westfield State, and I took my KDAC. And
oh my God! So a whole new profession.
Yeah. So I got my KDAC, and then you know, the big thing that everybody was dreading, the day where you had to take the state board exam.
Yeah.
You know, some people delay. I took it right after because fresh in their mind, fresh better.
Smart.
Yeah. So 2 months after the courses were done in the KDAC, I took the state board exam, found that I passed.
Right.
So it was very exciting.
I bet.
Yeah. So I mean, and you look back, like if I would have made a list of everything I expected to get out of recovery, I would have sold myself short.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would have sold myself so short. And the beautiful thing about this thing is that, you know, not a select few get this or have an opportunity to get what I have. Anybody can get it.
Mhm.
It's for
I think
anybody.
that's so important for folks to hear.
Yeah, it's not, oh, I'm one of the lucky ones. No, like hundreds and thousands of people enter recovery every day. And there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people very successful in their recovery.
Yeah.
And yes, we know about the horrific epidemic that we're faced today with and the multiple people dying every day. But we need to start promoting and celebrating that there are also hundreds and multiple and countless people entering recovery, and that's something to be celebrated.
Well, I can tell folks listening, I visit you guys and you see me down there. Place is always packed. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Always busy, but positive and all of that. And you carry a big name now yourself.
Yeah.
You're well known.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just, you know, just me. And, you know, I do know I have a responsibility. You know, I know people watching me and, you know, I don't want, you know, but it's them that carry me though. They don't know that. It's the members, you know, the members that make me look good, man.
That's a sign of a good leader.
The members and my staff, they're, you know, second to none. They really, you know, make Everyday Miracles a place called home. It's a joy to go in there every day.
You like the job?
I love the job. They say, if you love your job, it's not work.
It's not work.
Right?
You're having fun.
So, yeah, but it does get stressful.
Well, I bet.
So, you know, there's some things, you know, fiscal year coming to an end, so everybody down, breathing down your back, this is, you know.
Yeah, all of a sudden now you're talking business all of a sudden.
So the business side, you know, but I'm okay with that. You know, I'm still learning, you know, as I go, and, you know, I take the trainings available to me. But, you know, honestly, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Spectrum.
No, and
Spectrum literally put their neck on the chopping block and took a chance with me, a person with a background that is, you know, anywhere else they would have laughed me out the door and like, kid, are you crazy to give you a job, and especially give you a position where, you know, we can tarnish our name, you know. But I give all, you know, I have the utmost respect for Spectrum for saying, you know what, we're going to take a chance with this kid.
multiple
Pathways. And that speaks volumes of how, you know, Spectrum looks at their clients, their employees, you know, and they value people with lived experience. And they know that the amount of resources and value that people with lived experience can bring to the table as well. And that says a lot about Spectrum.
I thank you. Spectrum, New England Recovery Center.
Yes.
Both, I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in what we're doing.
Right. No,
as
you
well.
guys, and the beautiful thing about it is that, you know, we utilize all Spectrum's continuum of care. We come up here and tell the folks about what we do at Everyday Miracles, and we get them folks to come down and we go to the
Because
detox.
you are part of the
Right.
continuing.
So we are, right. So that's just
You
another.
guys are a huge resource. I don't know, I'm sure you found that, but not a lot of folks do. It's one of the best things to have is a place like EDM.
And we should be lobbying, we should be advocating that there should be a recovery center in every city, every town across the state.
Yep.
You know, there's 10 recovery centers right now, 5 to open up. That's still not enough.
But it's happening.
It's happening,
but it's
but
happening.
that's the good thing.
Yeah.
And we need to advocate that. You know, it is, you know, the Spectrum is managing 3, and that's 3 more levels of care where Spectrum do a handoff and say, hey, we have a person being discharged, we're going to send them down to your center. make sure they're all right, and that's how it works.
All the way follow through
Yes,
that way.
and it's a
The
good thing.
recovery coach is coming out.
Oh,
I
the
can see
recovery,
that.
yeah, the
I can
recovery
see that.
coaching is a big thing taking off, and it's just recovery is a beautiful thing. But what's more beautiful that I like to sit back and admire is when I see people in their process, and slips or falls and whatever, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
But seeing an individual jump back up, it takes a lot, and I admire that. I admire folks that jump back up.
So I always ask guests here, and I say at the end, can you give a couple of takeaways for the folks listening?
My takeaways would be to be kind to individuals no matter where they are, because we don't know what shoes they walked in to get to the point where they're at today. Be very mindful that everybody comes with a story, and we don't know what that story was like for that individual. So just to have a little bit of compassion.
And I thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah,
Very
just
much.
have a little bit of compassion for folks, and if they have a loved one or if they know somebody who has a substance use disorder, to know that it's not a moral failure, and that they're not meaning or
And there's help,
choosing.
and there's help spectrum.
Right.
in the recovery
So
center.
to pick up the phone and call us, call Spectrum is on the website. They have and no matter what stages of processing we have, Spectrum has it too.
We'll get folks in for help.
That's right. So that would be my.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, this is Airing Addiction, folks, and thanks for joining us with our guest, Mike Earielo. We'll see you next month. Take care.